Travis Wayne Goodsill. In the video I did this morning, I closed talking about a closing hymn for the video in the description below. And after that I went, that's an awesome idea. No one else on YouTube is doing that. I will do it. And so, if you're unfamiliar with The Simpsons, there was an episode where Bart Simpson got to select the hymn for the church service and passed it all out. The pastor gets up and says, "We will now sing In the Garden of Eden by I, Ron Butterfly." Classic piece. So that will need to be used at some point in the future. But the opening hymn for this video is What Do You Get When You Fall in Love by Dionne Warwick. And after the video will be the closing hymn, What's Forever For by Michael Martin Murphey. Please refer to the description below. You don't have to sing them on your own. In the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Mormons are held hostage through extortion. Case in point, one type of extortion is that of a family's love. Ta-da! The hymns now have significance. There are many examples of spouses realizing the church isn't true, but the other spouse continues to be blinded by the extortion and causes division and often divorce in families. You have parents who are disappointed with their children who actually were obedient and studied Mormonism, found out it wasn't true, and left. And so that involves another aspect of the extortion in Mormonism, is that you're supposed to study, but you're not supposed to leave. You're supposed to remain loyal to the church. You're supposed to continue to pay the church to be Mormon. If you're unfamiliar, I keep reminding you in every video now, the church prophets have gotten caught with their hand in the tithing jar. There is no coming back from this. They're busted. It's like a televangelist who gets caught having sex with an underage girl and then asking for the congregation to forgive him and forget about it and continue to pay him in his lifestyle. If you're going to be that stupid, maybe you guys deserve each other. But there's other types of extortions that the church does. Extorting the love of deity. We don't see deity, but we all want love from a higher power, to know that our life has purpose and meaning. The church extorts that from us. It's not the true church if they're using extortion, so there is no true God. Therefore, they're extorting God's love. Family love I already talked about. Exaltation. That's kind of a mixture of the deity love and family love, because the church has changed it from exaltation of couples to exaltation of families. And Mormons don't think You don't get exalted with your family because you're a part of a family. What about your parents? Do they get exalted with you? And then you say yes. And then you keep going all the way back to Adam, and then you keep going all the way down to the last man on earth or woman on earth. And what was the movie? It was Demi Moore was in that movie. The Guff, not the Golf, I don't think. But it was the world of spirits waiting to come down to baby bodies, and it was an apocalyptic thing. I can't remember the name of it. I can look it up real quick, can't I? It had to do with 7 seals. I bet that's what it was. I need to make sure I have that. I'm pretty sure I do. 7 seals. LDS. Why are you putting that there? Oh, God. Yep, the 7th sign. There it is. 1988. Need to make sure I have that, and I'm pretty sure I do. Because that's like crucial, essential. One's media entertainment. Maybe I should have watched that tonight instead of doing this video for you. How long is it? Can't find out how long it is here. Well, what do you get when you fall in love? Yeah. So yeah, you probably have heard of Stockholm Syndrome. It's where you fall in love with your captor because they're the ones taking care of you. This is what happens in families in the Mormon Church. The parents get raised up in extortion as children, babies, growing up, born in the covenant. And so they don't know any better. So when they have their own families, they likewise raise their kids in bondage and extortion. And the math part of it is that we all can't fit. You know, planets have a physical space to occupy. 16 quadrillion will fit on Earth. 100 square apartments building up to where there's no more oxygen. 16 quadrillion. And that's not covering the water. And so, when you think worlds without number, why are there worlds without number? Aren't we all part of the same family? Shouldn't we all be on one world? So people aren't thinking in the church. It's couples. That's what it was originally. The church is calling it families as part of the extortion. And so as a result, family units dissolve and couples don't remain sealed for time and all eternity as a result. Latter days protection. Remember, that's what we paid tithing for, is to protect us from the day of burning. Lots of people are getting burned, both literally and figuratively. But it's not just for burning. Doctrine and Covenants section 45 talks about a specific danger that we need to be safe from. Can you guess what it is? Give you a hint. It's coronavirus. How did he know? Give you a hint. He knew the enemy's plans 200 years ago. I keep trying to do videos to convince you guys of this, but ex-Mormons, having been extorted by the church, continue that baggage extortion as ex-Mormons. And so, with the loyalty that we are commanded to give, and the money we are commanded to give, This is how it's all part of extortion. It's supposed to be a donation, not a forced requirement, with the threat of not getting those other things. And you guys have all heard of Exmolex. You've all watched her videos. She's popular, so yeah, this is nothing new to you guys. She came out with her last video about how she now knows what her parents think of her. And her trigger word, or fear, if you saw Divergent, the series of 3 movies, I saw it the other day and talked about it. Did a video with Divergent in it. Nobody cares. But she was being tested for her ability to withstand fear. And she actually did very well, of course, because she's divergent. But it's something everybody in life has to deal with, as to how we deal with our fears. And unfortunately, there are abusive, mean people out there who want to instill fear, as well as keeping the fear within us. Bullies instill the fear, but there's another kind of bully that I've been warning you about, which is psychologists. Psychologists are not real. They're a fake career. It's a fake science. They're not real at all. I mean, you talk about the big lie for the 2020 election. Psychologists are the big lie of life. They do not look for a cause. They just name call you. That's a bullying tactic. You're mentally ill. I was thinking about watching a Bad Boys movie tonight. In Bad Boys 2, Martin Lawrence has to see an actual psychologist, not Will Smith, and she's telling Martin over and over and over again, you're angry. He's already forced to go because he's in the department, and now she's trying to brainwash him. That's what you do, is you name call somebody over and over and over and over and over again until you break them and they start accepting it. And he was kind of funny in that her attempts to brainwash him is what was making him angry. I highly recommend that, so that you can defeat psychos when they try to do that to you. But we already see in the news that psychos dominate our culture and have successfully brainwashed the masses, whether you're a Republican, conservative, MAGA, or a deep state liberal. See what I mean? Both sides are playing you guys in this brainwashing technique. And so, yes, I screamed to high heaven the warning when Exmolex went to a certain psychologist, because she was now getting popular and he was taking advantage of her so that he can boost his ratings. There's an exclusive clique in ex-Mormonism, which is baggage from Mormonism, because in Mormonism there is cliques as well. You especially see it in the younger singles, the younger Mormons. But it still exists. all the way up into the elderlies. And the manner in which he was treating her and others is to help, well, not help, to remind them of the trauma of Mormonism. Because he has to break you. If you've gone through your faith crisis, he needs to keep you in that crisis mode, continually reminded of the trauma that the church caused. And so, if you believe the cover-up of Brigham Young's lies about Joseph Smith, he'll rehash it. Oh, that Joseph, those little girls, that's so wrong. Joseph had nothing to do with little girls. All that was a lie, perpetuated by Brigham Young, extorting people who followed him to help in spreading the lie about Joseph, to justify Brigham and what he was doing to change Mormonism from what Joseph Smith had it. And then the 1923 church covered all of Brigham Young's stuff up, because it's illegal. All illegal. The Edmunds-Tucker Act shut down the church. Destroyed. But they rose from the ashes with the extortion of tithing and decided to go the route of evangelical Mormonism and called Joseph Smith's stories actual history, but removing the lies part of all the crimes falsely accused to Joseph. I don't know how else to tell people who have been brainwashed, because when you're brainwashed, you shut off. You don't hear me. You don't listen to the truth. You've already made up your minds. That's part of the psychological brainwashing extortion threats. The church does that. They use guilt trips, so that your family uses guilt trips on you. And so, yes, you heard Exmo Lex come out and tell us that her fear that she collapsed on could not proceed. She failed to be in the, faction? Is that what they call the different groups? She failed to be a member of her faction. She's now needing John DeLynn, oops, I revealed his name, didn't I, to save her and rescue her so that she can be reminded of her trauma rather than taking on truth and recognizing that her family are the ones who are the Jezebels. They're the ones who betrayed her. And she needs to recognize that it's not her. Exmo Lex is not to blame. She is not the one who's guilty. Her parents, her family betrayed her. She needs to focus her anger on her family and the church for brainwashing her family against her. She needs to stay away and cut off the umbilical cord of her family. Just as alcoholics need to cut off the bars. Can't go to bars anymore if you're trying to get off of being an alcoholic. And it's tough because, your family extorted love from you. You crave their love. You need their love and acceptance. And that sets you up for failure. That's the extortion. And we all witnessed Exmo Lex, and she just collapsed. And you could tell in her videos, it was cut and spliced all the way through. It was difficult for her to make. So, if you're thinking that I'm calloused, no. I'm experienced. I'm an experienced veteran of the evils of Mormonism. And it's the truth that set me free. Not perpetuating the lie, because learning that Joseph Smith was actually the good guy, that he was framed, set up, and murdered as an inside job, and his organization usurped from him after his murder. I now have a clear understanding and knowledge of all things church and Mormonism. And so the church can't extort me now. The truth sets you free from anyone who tries to extort you. So, something for you guys to think about as we now wait for the complete and utter collapse of the church. It's coming. And I'm hoping for a certain irony. And we should find out in a couple of days if such is going to be the case. But, dear God, the sign in the heavens sure blasted the East Coast. About 100 dead already from it. And interesting, on Thursday, after the 3 days of rain, there were 2 earthquakes at almost magnitude 3 earthquakes at Joseph, the town of Joseph, there by the 70. Huh. That is interesting. That's a coincidental confirmation if you've been listening to my other videos. So, don't let the church extort you. And you can see it in Mormons as they threaten and bully and abuse, thinking they're defending and protecting the church. The church doesn't need your protection, Mormons. All you're doing is making the church more of the villains of Scripture. If Nelson and the prophets can't defend the church, you shouldn't be. And you should have caught on when the church made it official. We're no longer answering questions from Mormons. We're sending it to the stake president to determine if they need to excommunicate you. That should have been your first clue that the prophets probably aren't men of God. But you're brainwashed. You're extorted.